Welcome back again. So we're going to do edit and we're going to do delete in this one. So if you wanted to do these things right now, just to kind of see where we're at, you could go ahead and fire up your app again. Hopefully you have a couple quotes that load. I'd actually reset mine so I'd add them back. And if you wanted to delete something, you could click on delete and it would, kind of appear to work, which is kind of neat, right? So now I'm down to just one. But if I hit stop and then I hit play, it actually turns out that it didn't get deleted from core data, right? And I really like how these things work, right? So we've got an array of movie quotes, which is really just a bunch of pointers, to point down at the managed objects like that are on the notepad. And if you remove something from the array, really it just takes that pointer out of the array. So like whenever I delete something, it takes the pointer out of the array, but the object is still there, right? And it didn't get taken out of core data. And when we reload, like whenever we stop and reload, it just comes right back. So let's see about fixing that. So let's go ahead and go into our code and see where we find delete at. So we should find delete under commit editing style. So we go find that. And then this is where the delete happens, right? And so the only thing that delete is really doing is it's just removing the array's reference to it, which does nothing, right? So what we really want to do is we want to actually use our managed object context to do the delete for us. In order to do a delete, what we've got to do is we've got to have a reference to the quote. So we'll just say quote to delete, and we have to somehow get this quote. And so we'll just say movie quotes at the index path dot row. So that'll get us the quote. And then what we want to do is we want to actually delete that. So we have to say managed object context. Delete object is what we want to do. So there's a couple of them. Delete object is the one you want. So you say quote to delete. Now it turns out that deleting it doesn't actually modify core data either. So the way I think about it is there's the persistent store, and then there's this notepad with your managed object context. What it does is it marks it on the managed object context as something that needs to be deleted. That's literally all it does. And then the actual removal from core data doesn't happen until you save the managed object context. So we made a function for saving it. You have to click save, and then that actually does it, which is good. And then if you want to actually have it show up on the page, you're going to have to say update movie quote array, and then at that point, you can let the normal stuff happen to update the table. So these are the lines we need to actually delete it from core data. And so now if I say edit delete, and I delete old school, and then I hit stop the app and replay the app, it's really gone, right? The other one that I wanted to fix up is edit. So if you click on edit, it kind of appears to work. So I'll just add a bunch of exclamation points. It shows up here, it shows up here, everything's good. If, however, you hit stop and then play, same problem as delete. It wasn't really changed. Now this one is a little different than delete because actually the object that we passed in to the detail view controller, it is a managed object. And if I edit it, it edits it on that little notepad, right? So on that managed object context notepad. And actually if we created a different quote, so I'll just say new quote, and I'll just make the movie M1 because I don't care. When we create a quote, what it does is there is actually code in there to save the context. So interestingly enough, this exclamation point, if I were to stop it and run it, it actually did get saved. And I really like this example because it makes you think about how core data works, right? So if you modify something on the notepad, that's great. But if you don't save it, it means nothing. But if you save it, even if you're saving something else, when you hit save, it saves everything on that notepad, right? And so it was on the notepad modified. It didn't get saved, but if you save the notepad, it does get saved, right? We don't want to rely on somebody creating another quote to save it, right? So we actually do want to fix this still, but just kind of know how it works. In order to fix it, what we're going to need is we're going to need a reference to the managed object context, right? So what I'm going to do is in the detail view controller, I'm going to make a managed object context, and it's going to be just like it was before. So it's an NS managed object context. Now that I think about it, I could have just copied it from the other table, but that's all right. So now I've got a reference to something. The next thing I need to do is I need to actually have somebody populate that reference. There's numerous ways to do this. One way we could do it that's fairly straightforward is in the same way that they pass in a MovieQuotes. You could just copy this MovieQuote line, and you could, instead of just passing in the MovieQuotes, you could also pass in a managed object context. And it didn't really help me with code completion very much there, but those lines should work, and so we're just passing it in. I said that there are a couple ways to do it. The notes will show you another way you could do it. So you could also do it by just getting a reference to the app delegate. So we just say UI application, shared application dot delegate. That's the app delegate. It also has a reference to it. So you could have gotten it from the app delegate instead of getting it passed in. But however you get it, just the important thing is that you've got it, right? All right, so now let's go in and let's find where the movie quote was edited. And basically all we need to do is we just need to click on save, right? So right here is where it just got changed. And so what we want to do is we just want to click on save. So the annoying thing is our save function was over in the other view controller. Various ways to fix this as well. I think since I'm going to only save it in one spot, I'm just going to copy the innards of the function, and I'm just going to paste them in right here, right? So if you were doing a big app and you wanted to do a lot of elaborate things, you could do that better, but just pasting it in was fine. It's giving me an error because I'm in a closure. When I'm in a closure, I need to say self dot. Another little feature that I'd like to do is I would like to go ahead and update the last touch date time. So that way it actually modifies, when you edit it, it'll snap to the top, right? And you don't have to do that. You might want it in the same order, but I decided that I wanted to move it to the top because it was whatever the last time the file was touched. So let's just go ahead and run it again. So now we've got our two quotes. And what I want to do is I want to modify Yo Adrian. I want to fix it and I want to put it back to just a single exclamation point. And then when I come back, it should snap it to the top because it was the last one touched. And if I close the app and open the app, it should actually still be there and still be on top. Great, so we fixed not only delete, but we also fixed edit. And if you think about it, that's the end of our CRUD, right? So we've got create, read, update, delete. What we're going to come back to do next time, so the app is not over, is we're going to look at some efficiency things. So one of the problems with efficiency is this update array. Where'd it go? Right here. So update movie quote away. If you were to add even one quote and you had like 1,000,000 quotes, you would just be throwing away, the million that you know already just to add that million in first once. And we're going to show you some efficiency improvements that you can do. To be honest, though, this approach with an array, if you want to use this for your project, it's just fine. A user would probably never notice the microseconds we're going to save you by what we do next time. All right, see you next time. Bye.